Welcome back to the tutorial for the hardest mode in God of War 2018. And to start off, this will show you how to get the chest. I believe it has a horn in it to increase your rage bar. I don't remember exactly how I did it, but there was one hidden up here that you had to hit. And you'll see exactly what symbols I have on which devices, so that'll give you an idea of what you need to do. There's also some other hidden items in here that I didn't record. There's a crow beneath that bridge I'm standing on right now. In that gap in that bridge, there's a crow hiding down there that you can hit with your axe and get 100 XP. And behind me, there's actually another blue stone you can hit that's kind of hidden. It'll make a path to another chest. And there's some other things you can find if you search around the area. I don't show all that, as mostly what I show in these videos are combat focused. Since it's the hardest mode, I figure that's going to be, the most useful. So yeah, when you do enter this door, you'll have a single enemy here in a tight space. You fought a lot of these before, but it starts off, in a tight space, so it can be dangerous. These areas took me maybe around 58 minutes total with the exploration and menus and all that. But there was nothing too hard in these areas. I had to split the Frost Giant fight up into another video, another short video, because it took too long and the video cut off in the middle. But yeah, now you'll fight a few more of these enemies again. But, you fought a lot of these by this point. The only tricky part is that you're in a tight space, but I think it's actually better to fight these enemies close in instead of trying to throw your axe at them anyway, because they rush you a lot. So I just used my rage. I knocked a few of them in the pit. Since I have the talisman, that generates rage, I can just get my rage back if I want to fill it back up by waiting between fights. But I haven't really been doing that. But, while I'm exploring, I do end up wasting time since I don't always know where to go. So now you'll have to fight a few more enemies out in the open. This can be tricky. I may have died on this once or a few times, I'm not sure, but it can be tricky. But, you can pull a lot of bullshit because you have this little hallway that you can go in. So you can always go in there and throw your axe at the enemies and take your time, which I do end up doing, I think. But yeah, I start off pretty aggressively using a rage and fighting pretty aggressively, which thins out the enemies a little bit. But yeah, the Frost Giant fight coming up is not going to be exciting at all. It's going to be really just a tedious fight. So you fought enough of them, to where you could skip the rest of the video if you don't want to waste your time. I wouldn't really recommend watching it. I don't try to waste the viewer's time, but I am showing all the encounters in the way that I did them. So if you're having trouble with it for whatever reason, I guess that would give you an easy method, but I mean, it's easy as hell to exploit. This game recycles a lot of these enemies, like these Frost Giants, so if you fought one, you pretty much know what to do by this point. There will be a few enemies that join it. I used the Resurrection Stone here because it didn't really matter. There's a blacksmith right in here, so I just buy another one afterwards. And I was just playing it safe at this point, just throwing axes at these enemies. I think there's a few more smaller encounters before the giant, but, very easy if you take your time. You can mostly just throw your axe at the enemies for the next few encounters. And these guys, they die fast with axe throws. They're just projectile throwers. They only take a few hits with the axe. You can deal with them, earlier if you want to get them out of the way, or you can just wait and go behind this wall and just throw your axe at him and kill him. Very easy. Yeah, that's it for that fight. You have a few enemies in here to deal with, I think. I think there's a few. Yeah, there's a few enemies in here. But, you know, more the same standard combat against these enemies. I don't think there's any with the purple health bar, so they don't really take, that many hits. They're not especially difficult. And you got this little barrier, this thing that you push. You can just go behind this and use it as cover from the fireballs. And, just throw shit at him, use the arrows, unleash the wolves. I think there's a few more small encounters before the giant. I was proceeding carefully since I didn't know what was coming up. But yeah, nothing hard. And maybe another enemy in here. I think so. You can tell which ones are alive by the reticle. When you aim your reticle, the ones that turn orange means that the statue is going to come alive. I think after this guy, the Frost Giant is coming up next. And that's going to be a very easy fight. It just takes long, but, you fought so many of them by this point in the game. They really do recycle them way too much. Yeah, I believe the Frost Giant is down here, but just another standard fight. You have a huge arena, so you can take your time with this fight, just throw the axe at him and run around. You can go in that blacksmith hallway for a little bit of cover. He can still send the frost crystals into that hallway where the blacksmith is, but they only go down so far, so you can just keep coming out and throwing it if you want. It also gives you cover from the enemies, so you can channel all the enemies into a narrow area and just throw the axe at them. I don't even know if the enemies will come into that hallway. I think they stay outside, but you can very easily just throw the axe at them from the hallway. And when your rage meter builds up, just beat the shit out of the giant. It'll build up just from throwing the axe and using the rage talisman. It doesn't take nearly as long as it did earlier when I showed this fight with just throwing the axe in the beginning of the game. And it's several other points in the game as well, at least one other occurrence. We may have to fight them more directly later in the game when I think there may be 2 of them at the same time, but I'm not really sure. And the enemy arrangements may be a little different on this mode, on that part. I'm not even sure. But deal with that when we get there, you know. Still got to watch out for these enemies. They're always dangerous. They're fast and they will appear during the fight. So yeah, if you go into this blacksmith hallway over here, you know, that can give you some chance to build up your rage meter again and charge it up, and you can just take your time in here. You could even equip the health talisman and get all your health back if you wanted to just wait around in here long enough and get full health. I think there's also some health crystals that I run around and collect later in that large arena. Because as I was saying earlier in the videos, is that if I don't need those green crystals, I don't pick them up, because a lot of times you'll backtrack and revisit areas, and if you didn't pick up those green crystals, it seems to save them, so they should still be on the ground if you didn't use them. So I'd recommend not picking them up when you don't need them, because they could end up helping out later. But yeah, so this video is about to end, but I will continue the rest of this giant fight, though there's not much to see. It's the same shit. But, you know, if you do want to see the rest of the fight, stay tuned and check the next video. Thanks again.